Live from New Delhi, you're watching DT India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, coming up in the next hour. Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi to pay official visit to India today. First visit by Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan as Crown Prince. Reaffirming unwavering support to Kyiv, Italian Prime Minister Meloni suggests India's role in resolving Russia-Ukraine conflict. Mass protests being held across France over appointment of the centre-right politician Michel Barnier as the new Prime Minister. Sabalenka outclasses Pegula to win her first US Open title. Stage set for a thrilling match between world number 1 Jannik and Taylor Fritz for the men's singles title. The Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, will pay an official visit to India at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday. This would be the first visit of Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan to India as the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. He will be accompanied by several ministers from the UAE government and a business delegation. The Abu Dhabi Crown Prince will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday and hold discussions on a wide range of areas of bilateral cooperation. He will also call on the President of India. The visiting dignitary will also participate in a business forum in Mumbai on Tuesday. India and UAE share historically close and friendly ties. In recent years, the comprehensive strategic partnership between India and UAE has deepened in a wide range of areas, including political, trade, investment, connectivity, energy, technology, education and culture. The Crown Prince's visit will further reinforce strong India-UAE bilateral relations and open avenues for partnership in new and emerging areas. All right, indeed, India's Jessica Taneja is joining us with more on this story. Jessica, first visit of Crown Prince to India. Take us through the key agendas and what is likely to come up in the next 2 days.
Well, he will be meeting with the Prime Minister tomorrow, and as you pointed out later, then will also meet with President Draupadi Murmu and also go pay homage to Mahatma Gandhi at the Rajghat as well. Once that concludes, of course, we can expect further engagements between the two leaders, as you pointed out. The Crown Prince is being accompanied by a council of ministers who will take stock of the current existing bilateral mechanisms between the two countries, particularly the CEPA, or the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement that the two countries signed in 2017, and the kind of work that has gone into strengthening that partnership over the years. So looking at more areas of investment as well, particularly in the energy sector, and also looking at technology, artificial intelligence, also one of them. Not to also forget that potentials in West Asia could also come up in this discussion, as there is a massive flare-up, and that particular area would also be in focus, apart from the various engagements that the two will see in the near future.
Okay, Jessica, India and UAE have strengthened their economic relationship over the years with cooperation in multiple sectors. Now, how is this trade relationship evolving? If you can just tell us about it a bit.
Well, certainly, the relationship between India and the United Arab Emirates, of course, has strengthened for many years. And as you'd recall, in February 2022, India and the UAE signed a free trade agreement under which 80% of the goods being traded were without removed tariffs. So that was something which sort of led to the point where the economic exchanges between the two countries, and looking at how the relationship is evolving further, it has been one of the relationships which India has cherished over many years. And given the fact that United Arab Emirates is the third largest trading partner of India, with an annual bilateral trade recorded in the last financial year to be roughly around $85 billion, and the plan to make it $100 billion by 2030 is what the two countries are looking forward to. Hence, more partnerships and more agreements. You saw with Prime Minister's visit earlier this year in February to United Arab Emirates, apart from, of course, inaugurating the BAP's Hindu temple, which was a significant milestone. The Prime Minister also back then had held talks on how to further enhance this economic relationship, and also launching of the UPI payment system, or RuPay, with ANI, which is the payment gateway system of Abu Dhabi. So that integration, and also the transaction that has been allowed in local currencies by both the countries, banks, central banks, has also further enhanced the relationship. And to invest in India then has become significantly easier. Let's not forget that UAE, when it comes to its FDI, is the fourth largest in the country. So this is one relationship which is enhancing further and will continue to strengthen economically as well.
All right, thank you so much, Jessica, for your analysis. India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, has reached Riyadh, the capital and largest city of Saudi Arabia, to take part in first India-Gulf Cooperation Council Foreign Ministers meeting. On his arrival, the minister met Saudi's Deputy Minister for Protocol Affairs, Abdul Majid Al-Smari. He also welcomed by Dr. Suhail Khan, and during the visit, he is also expected to hold bilateral meetings with foreign ministers from GCC member countries. India and the GCC enjoy a deep and multifaceted relationship in areas including political, trade and investment, energy cooperation, cultural and people-to-people ties. On the second leg of the visit, External Affairs Minister will travel to Germany from 10th to 11th of September. This will be his third visit as minister to Berlin. Both India and Germany share a robust strategic partnership, and Germany is one of India's prominent trading partners and among the largest foreign direct investors. The External Affairs Minister will thereafter travel to Switzerland for an official visit from 12th to 13th of September. And India correspondent DV Vinod Kumar is joining us live from Dubai for more on this. Hello Vinod. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is in Riyadh now for attending the GCC Foreign Ministers meeting. Tell us how important is this visit, how significant it would be?
Yes, Siddhartha. Good afternoon. See, before going to the significance of this meeting, let me explain the history behind the relation between India and GCC. GCC as a bloc was formed in the year 1981, but India officially started the relationship in the year 2003, when the first political dialogue was held on the sidelines of United Nations. Later in 2022, a memorandum of understanding was created between India and the GCC for the method of consultation. In this method of consultation, the main method of consultation was India's External Affairs Minister with the GCC Triaca. GCC Triaca means the Secretary General of GCC, the current presidency, and the future presidency. These are the three high-level dignitaries which will be discussing in this mechanism of consultations. Taking forward this mechanism of consultations, gathered more steam. Last year, there was a high-level visit by India's officials to the GCC in the year 2023, and earlier this year, our Secretary CP, Consular Passport and Visa, visited the Assistant Secretary General of GCC. So these are the history, and for the first time, the External Affairs Minister of India is meeting all the foreign ministers of the GCC. This is the inaugural session, and this can be seen as a landmark debate between our relation with GCC. And coming to the importance, Gulf Cooperation Council holds immense significance for India. The countries which constitutes the Gulf Cooperation Council is separated only by the Arabian Sea. It has emerged as a major trading partner for India with its vast potential of oil and gas reserves. And on the economic front, India's got a historical relation with the GCC states, strengthened by increasing imports of gas, oil. In fact, India imports most of its oil from a GCC country, Qatar. And these GCC countries hold almost 30% of the proven gas reserves in the entire world. And Qatar alone constitutes bulk of the natural gas available in the world. And India, GCC contributes also 35% of India's energy requirements, and we have got strategic petroleum research in our state of Maharashtra in collaboration with Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The main exports from India to GCC are food and food related. India's 66% of the entire Indian diaspora resides in GCC. So we have got a good people-to-people connect, cultural connect, and as we all know, there's a huge remittance that is being received from these GCC countries towards India. So taking this holistic perspective, it's very evident that India's most important bilateral relation will be with these GCC countries.
All right, thank you so much.
That's the highlight of this visit.
All right, DV Vinod, thank you so much for your analysis. Updates now on assembly polls in North India's Jammu and Kashmir. Preparations are underway in the Union Territory for the upcoming assembly elections. Polling staff are being trained by the Election Commission of India officials ahead of first phase of polling to be held on September 18th. The training session was attended by polling staff who received essential instructions on operating and managing electronic voting machines and voter verifiable paper audit trails as well. Also, campaigning for the election intensified in the valley as Defence Minister and senior BJP leader Rajnath Singh held a public rally in Ramban districts on Sunday, and during the rally emphasized the evolving landscape of Jammu and Kashmir.
पार्टी जिस नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस के साथ गठबंधन कर रखा है, उस नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस ने अपने चुनावी घोषणा पत्र में कहा है हम आएंगे तो जो धारा 370 समाप्त की गई है उसे हम बहाल कर देंगे, या किसी के पास कलेजा नहीं है बहनों भाइयों के अब धारा 370 को यहां पर बहाल कर सके। अब जम्मू कश्मीर टेररिज्म स्पॉट के रूप में नहीं जाना जाता है, बल्कि यह टूरिज्म स्पॉट के रूप में जाना जाता है।
In a tragic incident, at least 8 people died while 28 others injured when a multi-story building collapsed in North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh on Saturday. Teams of India's National Disaster Response Force and State Disaster Response Force along with police and administration put all the efforts to save people trapped in debris. State Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath took cognizance of the building collapse incident and instructed officials to hasten the relief efforts. The collapsed building, located in the Transport Nagar area of Lucknow, housed godowns and a motor workshop. The police reported that the building, constructed about 4 years ago, was undergoing some construction work at the time of collapse. Most of the victims were working on the ground floor when the incident happened. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced an ex gratia of rupees 200,000 from Prime Minister's National Relief Fund to the next of kin of each deceased and rupees 50,000 to the injured in the building mishap in Lucknow city of the North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. Indian Union Minister G Kishan Reddy visited flood-hit areas in Telangana state's Khammam district. He met the victims and inspected the houses washed away in the floods. The India Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for Telangana along with Maharashtra, predicting heavy rainfall throughout Sunday. Reddy also distributed essentials to the affected people and supervised rehabilitation programs. He said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had called CM Revanth Reddy to inquire about the floods. The Union Minister added that over 1,300 crore rupees have been reserved under the Advanced Disaster Fund with the state government as per PM Modi's order. Let's take a look at other stories making news. The Indian Society of Transplant Surgeons successfully hosted its inaugural conference at AIIMS, New Delhi. The opening address was given by Professor V.K. Pal, member Niti Aayog. He emphasized on increasing needs of transplant surgeons and required infrastructure in India. The Integrated Defence Staff to conduct its maiden combined operational review and orientation for senior officers of TRICE services from 9th to 13th of September 2024 in New Delhi. The program aims to prepare the officers for leadership roles, developing skills and strategic planning and preparing for future threats, challenges and conflicts. And the 20th edition of the Yudh Abhyas 2024, the joint military exercise between India and USA, is set to take place in the West Indian state of Rajasthan from 9th to 22nd of September 2024. This year's exercise will focus on jointness and interoperability in operations in semi-desert terrain. Still to come on DD India Newshour. Israel closes its land border crossings with Jordan after deadly attack at Allenby Bridge crossing. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken to visit UK, set to discuss global issues including Ukraine conflict.
New challenges need new strategies, and technology is already impacting the way we live and we farm.
Based on the spikes and insights which our algorithms suggest, we alert the farmers or whoever the warehouse owner is about what exactly is happening in which part of your warehouse.
The weather in Meghalaya is definitely one of the center points of how we design these systems. And let's look at all of this together in terms of what is the solar irradiance that they're getting. Try and design a system that is designed to work in that situation.
It's a pretty good living. Greenhouses have improved the lives of 80 or 90% of Algerians.
Our supply chain is farm to door. We supply traders directly, bringing benefits to both.
You're watching DD India News on. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and in a latest, Israeli military announced that a truck driver opened fire on Sunday at an Israeli border crossing between the West Bank and Jordan, killing 3 Israeli civilians before being killed by the forces. The deadly attack at the Allenby Bridge crossing, also known as King Hussein Bridge crossing, comes amid surging violence in the West Bank with major Israeli military raids and attacks. Israel's police have blocked part of the Allenby Bridge crossing with Jordan on Sunday after a gunman killed 3 Israeli civilians in an attack near there before security forces shot him dead on Sunday.
This is a difficult day. A loathsome terrorists murdered in cold blood 3 of our civilians at Allenby Bridge. On behalf of the government and myself, I send my condolences to the families of the murdered. In recent days, loathsome terrorists have murdered 6 of our hostages in cold blood and 3 Israeli police officers. The killers do not distinguish between us. They want to murder us all, until the last one.
The Israeli military announced on Sunday that it has carried out a series of airstrikes on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. The Israeli military also said that it had intercepted a number of projectiles launched overnight from Lebanon. The Israeli military said in a statement that Israel's Air Force had struck Hezbollah military structures in the areas of Maroun el-Ras, Yaroun, among others in southern Lebanon. The strikes come in retaliation to the strikes on Israel's northern region as announced by the Hezbollah early Sunday. Hezbollah and Israeli forces have been trading cross-border attacks during the weekend. Hezbollah has exchanged near daily fire with Israeli forces in support of ally Hamas since its October 7 attack on Israel triggered the conflict across the Gaza Strip, with repeated escalations during the 11 months of the cross-border attacks. The Hezbollah has claimed responsibility for the bombardment of the northern Israeli town of Kiryat Shmona with a volley of Falak rockets early Sunday in response to the enemy attacks, and particularly the attack that killed the emergency workers in the Lebanese village Fron. US President Joe Biden attended a church service in Delaware on Saturday as US efforts continue to end the conflict in Gaza. The head of the Central Intelligence Agency said a more detailed ceasefire proposal would be made in the next several days. He added he was working very hard on texts and creative formulas with mediators Qatar and Egypt to secure a ceasefire by finding a proposal which satisfies both parties. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken plans to travel to the United Kingdom on Monday, a week after Britain suspended some arms export licenses with Israel over equipment that could be used in the conflict in Gaza. In the trip slated to go through Tuesday, Blinken will open the US-UK strategic dialogue. Blinken will also meet with senior government officials to discuss issues including the Indo-Pacific, the AUKUS Defence Pact between US, Australia, Britain and the Middle East, and collective efforts to support Ukraine in the conflict against Russia. And thousands of demonstrators took to the streets across France on Saturday, fiercely opposing President Emmanuel Macron's appointment of Michel Barnier as country's new Prime Minister. Barnier was named by Macron despite protests from the leftist France Unbowed Party. The left, led by far-left France Unbowed Party, has accused Macron of denial of democracy and stealing the election after Macron refused to pick the candidate of the new Popular Front Alliance that came top in the July election. Polls reveal widespread discontent, with 74% of French people believing Macron has disregarded election outcomes. As Barnier prepares to tackle significant reforms and present the 2025 budget, he faces the looming threat of no confidence vote in October. French far-right leader Jordan Bardella declared his party is closely monitoring newly appointed Prime Minister Michel Barnier. Bardella signaled that Barnier's government could collapse if it continues President Macron's policies. The far-right leader emphasized that his party would assess Barnier based on his policy decisions, leaving the possibility of a no-confidence vote open.
If newly appointed French Prime Minister, Mr. Michel Barnier, wants to be the voice and the driver of the democratic aspirations that were expressed in the legislative elections, then I will judge him on his policies, which does not mean that there will be no vote of no confidence during his mandate. If, on the other hand, he is a new frontman of Macronism and he continues the policy that was led by French President Emmanuel Macron and which was very severely sanctioned at the ballot box last July, then this government will fall.
In Algeria's presidential election, which was held on Saturday, preliminary figures have revealed, in fact, less than half of the country's eligible voters cast their ballots this time. Despite hopes for a higher turnout, the election has been marked by widespread apathy. 78-year-old incumbent President Abdelmajid Tebboune is heavily favored to secure a second term against his main challengers, moderate Islamist Abdelali Hassani and socialist candidate Youssef Ouchiche. Tebboune's primary challenge was to boost voter participation after a historically low turnout of over 60% in the 2019 election, which saw him elected in the wake of mass protests demanding the resignation of former President Abdelaziz Bouteflika. Former US President and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump pledged in Wisconsin on Saturday to throw up unprecedented tariffs and clamp down on immigrants. Speaking at a regional airport in Mossini, the Republican presidential candidate warned that even allies like the European Union would face new trade restrictions if he wins the November 5 election against Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. He repeatedly presented migrants as a grave danger to Wisconsin, warning without evidence that immigrants in the country illegally could evict local residents from their homes.
We're run by stupid people. Stupid people. And we found that out at the debate with Joe. How did that work out? And we're going to find it out again on Tuesday night.
While the Trump campaign has identified Hispanics and black men as areas of growth for the Republican Party, much of Trump's campaigning in recent weeks has been in small Rust Belt cities and towns that have few of either demographic. US Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris welcomed the support from former Vice President Dick Cheney and his daughter, former Representative Liz Cheney. The Vice President said on Saturday that she was honored to win their backing. In a statement released on Friday, Cheney called Trump a threat and voting for Harris a duty. The Harris campaign said on Friday that the Cheneys had joined a growing movement of Republicans putting country over party by supporting Harris.
I'm honored to have their endorsement, and I think that what they both, as leaders who are well respected, are making an important statement that it's okay, and if not important, to put country above party.
Venezuela's former presidential opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez has left for Spain in the wake of the South American country's contested election, according to Venezuelan and Spanish officials, after a day of rising diplomatic tensions. Gonzalez, who ran against President Nicolas Maduro in July, left after voluntarily seeking refuge in the Spanish embassy in Caracas several days ago, as per a post on social media by Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez. Manhunt continues after shooting incident in Kentucky. The Kentucky police are searching a rugged terrain near a national forest for the suspect after at least 7 people were injured by gunfire while driving down the rural stretch of an interstate highway. The gunfire erupted from a wooded area, striking multiple vehicles near London. Local authorities confirmed that numerous persons have been shot. Kentucky governor addressed the situation, asking the public to pray for those affected and promising more details as they emerge. Meanwhile, London Mayor Randall Weddell urged residents to avoid the area while the suspect remains at large.
We'd like to say at this time that all of our first responders are safe. The subject or subjects have not been apprehended, but they are searching for them. But I'm confident they will apprehend them. We are asking everybody in the city of Lemons to be vigilant and know what your surroundings. If you're home, keep your doors locked. I'm not asking anybody to panic. There is no immediate danger here in the city. But again, while these guys or this person is on the loose, we are asking everybody to be safe. If you're out and about, just be vigilant.
Just days after a deadly blaze killed 17 children at a Kenyan school, a fire broke out at a girls' boarding school in a town in central Kenya late on Saturday, leaving at least 3 students injured and destroying property as per the Kenya Red Cross and police. Kenya police spokesperson also said late on Saturday that the fire at the school had been contained, although the cause of the fire is yet to be found. Moments after the blaze was extinguished, police, fire and rescue squads could be seen using flashlights to search for any students and salvageable property in the wrecked dormitories. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk said that the company will launch its first uncrewed Starships to Mars in 2 years when the next Earth-Mars transfer window opens. In a social media post, Musk said that these Starships will be uncrewed to test the reliability of landing intact on Mars. He added that if those landings go well, his space company will launch its first crewed flights to Mars in 4 years. In April, Musk, who founded SpaceX in 2002, said the first uncrewed Starship to land on Mars would be within 5 years, with the first people landing on Mars within 7 years. And let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Pope Francis was accorded a warm welcome as thousands of people gathered to welcome him on his arrival to the remote Catholic town of Wanimo in Papua New Guinea on Sunday. He will later depart for East Timor. Pope Francis is on a 12-day visit of Southeast Asia and Pacific. Typhoon Yagi wreaked havoc in China's Hunan province, uprooting trees and blocking roads, damaging power lines and destroying more than 25,000 houses. So far, 526,100 people across 19 cities in the province have been affected by the typhoon, with 312,600 people relocated for safety and 76,000 people have been temporarily resettled as Yagi continues its devastating streak. The eastern city of Goma of the Democratic Republic of the Congo is struggling to cope with the outbreak of Mpox as confirmed cases keep rising. Congo has emerged as the epicenter of the outbreak. So far, there have been reports of 20,463 suspected cases, including 635 deaths. And still to come on DD Indian Newshour. India is playing a key role when it comes to getting a solution to Russia-Ukraine conflict. We will discuss it in detail.
New challenges need new strategies, and technology is already impacting the way we live and we farm.
Based on the spikes and insights which our algorithms suggest, we alert the farmers or whoever the warehouse owner is about what exactly is happening in which part of your warehouse.
The weather in Meghalaya is definitely one of the center points of how we design these systems. And let's look at all of this together in terms of what is the solar irradiance that they're getting. Try and design a system that is designed to work in that situation.
It's a pretty good living. Greenhouses have improved the lives of 80 or 90% of Algerians.
Our supply chain is farm to door. We supply traders directly, bringing benefits to both.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect.
You're watching the INDIA Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi to pay official visit to India today. First visit by Sheikh Khalid bin Mohamed bin Zayed Al Nahyan as Crown Prince. Reaffirming unwavering support to Kiev, Italian Prime Minister Meloni suggests India's role in resolving Russia-Ukraine conflict. Mass protests being held across France over appointment of the centre-right politician Michel Barnier as the new Prime Minister. Ukraine and Russia accused each other of overnight air attacks on their border regions. A Russian airstrike on the Ukrainian border city of Sumy killed 2 people and injured several others early on Sunday. Sumy lies just across the border from Russia's Kursk region, where Kyiv launched a shock offensive last month aiming to create a buffer zone inside Russia. Meanwhile, regional authorities have urged people in 183 Sumy settlements near the Russian border to evacuate, and that thousands of others in the area had already done so. While Russia claimed that 3 civilians, including 2 children, were injured in Ukraine's air attack in its southwestern region of Belgorod. Both Sumy and Belgorod regions have been subject to frequent attacks. Both sides deny targeting civilians, saying the attacks are aimed at destroying each other's infrastructure critical to war efforts. And Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of annual Tehran Business Forum on Saturday. Meloni pledged unwavering support for Ukraine, in which they discussed Kyiv's plans to end the conflict with Russia and reconstruction efforts. Meloni said Italy would never backtrack on its support for Ukraine, and the choice of supporting Ukraine will not change. After holding talks with Zelensky, Meloni underlined India's key role in resolving tensions between Russia and Ukraine. Meloni's statement comes as Russian President Vladimir Putin named India among the 3 countries he is in touch with over the Ukraine conflict.
I believe actor nations like China and India have a role to play and must play a role to resolve the conflict in Ukraine. The only thing that cannot happen, gentlemen, is to think that the conflict can be solved by abandoning Ukraine to its fate, because that will not bring peace, it will bring chaos. It will bring wars closer to home, and it will bring many economic consequences, all the more serious than what it costs today to support Ukraine. The choice of supporting Ukraine has been first and foremost a choice of national interest, and it's a choice that won't change.
All right. To discuss more on this, I've been joined by Anil Kumar Trigunayat. He is a former senior diplomat. A very warm welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, sir.
When it comes to the solution of years-long conflict between Russia and Ukraine, India has played a pivotal part. There's no doubt about that. In the beginning, it was unsure that how the response would be, but India never stopped trying, and the results are following. PM Modi visiting Russia, then Poland and Ukraine. After coming from there, he had a telephonic conversation with the Russian president and also with the US president. How do you analyze all this?
I think from the very beginning, India had taken a principled stand.
Yes.
And that was that these conflicts must be resolved through dialogue, diplomacy, and respect for the UN Charter. In the beginning, you know that when there was a grain deal problem in Black Sea, at that time India played a role, and Prime Minister Modi spoke to President Putin, and the Ukrainian grains were allowed to go. Likewise, in Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, when the threat of the nuclear war was expanding, there was once again a discussion to tone it down. And subsequently, in his third term, as soon as Prime Minister Modi took over, he went to G7 summit, as you know, in Italy, Puglia. There he had met Zelensky, he met other leaders, including Meloni of Italy, and this was discussed because this is a very major war that is impacting the whole world, and including India. And therefore, it is, as a principal foreign policy interlocutor, India has been aiming to bring about the peace in the region. And the Prime Minister Modi, after his discussion, obviously he went to Moscow. There he had discussions with Putin, with whom he has a very much trusted partnership. And thereafter, he went to Ukraine again. This became the first Prime Minister to go to Ukraine and to talk to him about the peace. And India, they apparently, the Ukrainian president is not averse to the idea of India holding the peace summit, and is also not averse to the idea of Russia participating. But in the meantime, as you know, that by the Russians has caused some uncertainty in the region. And that's the reason we are hearing that Mr. Doval will now be also visiting Russia. We have our external
How do you make out of it? What do you make out of it?
Well, I think these things don't happen overnight. You have to be an interlocutor. We are not becoming a mediator, even though many countries want that to be. But mediator means you have certain things that you can push countries. Here it is taking messages from one to the other and find an area of some kind of a semblance where they can sit together, certain kind of a ceasefire can be achieved, and then they can start talking about the eventual outcome. Now, this is how it's a slow process. But it is a process that can yield dividends over time. You cannot guarantee that, but effort countries like India will have to make, and we are making it. And we can see it on a daily basis. This is going on because after his visit to Kyiv, Prime Minister Modi spoke to both President Biden and President Putin, telling them exactly where it is. So it is an unacceptable situation that is obtaining in the world today with both the wars, both the Middle East as well as the Russia-Ukraine war, which will impinge on our national interests, essentially.
Okay. Mr. Trigunayat, you've just mentioned about the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval. He'll be traveling to Moscow. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Moscow, and now NSA Ajit Doval. What do you make out of this?
Well, as I said that, these are continuing process. There are inputs that you receive, then those inputs are shared with both sides, then the both sides decide where exactly they are, because currently they have these vertical positions, both of them. With the vertical positions, you can never come to the table. But that's where the art of interlocution arrives. And that's where both the sides, and so Prime Minister Modi and Mr. Doval will also be talking about this. This is one of the issues that will be discussed during Dr. Jaishankar's current visit to Riyadh as well. Because all these countries, Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia and UAE are also playing a major part in exchange of prisoners and things like that between the US and Russia, Ukraine and Russia and all that. So that has all happened. And this is something that we are going to see happening more frequently. And that's why India is a proactive partner. And most of the countries, actually, not only Ukraine and Russia, but the fact that most countries expect that India's intervention could perhaps bring peace in the region. And that is what, it's a very, very difficult tall order, I must say, in today's time and age. But all wars must end, and you need some sane foreign policy, which I think India is trying to provide.
Well, definitely world's great leaders are now accepting the very fact that India is playing a pivotal role when it comes to the solution for this conflict. In a latest, Italian PM Giorgia Meloni is naming India as one of the two countries she mentioned that could play a key role in resolving conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and also with Russian president saying that he is in contact with 3 countries, India being one of them, regarding the Ukraine conflict, and Ukraine also hinting towards peace talks. Do you think a solution is on the way?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, that solution is there because see, both the countries at the moment, and I think that the solution will be the day the United States also decides that it's time to end the war. But we know that the US elections are also playing on President Zelensky's mind at the moment, and President Putin also. Both countries are stressed. It's not that they are, happily enjoying the fruits of war. No one does. It's a destruction for everybody. And there is a fear psychosis which is playing out in both the countries. And so both have stressed to the limit. And I guess that it is high time that they might be looking for some kind of a face saving. And India could provide that possibly and a platform for them to talk and arrive at some kind of a modus vivendi.
Definitely. Like you were saying, India has always advocated for dialogue and diplomacy as a solution to this conflict. In fact, Prime Minister Modi urged Zelensky to engage in direct talks with Russia.
Well, I think that they were talking actually, if you remember that in the few weeks of the war in Istanbul, there were discussions that were happening. And Zelensky had even said that the only red line that Russia had for this was that Ukraine will not join NATO. And there was a statement from President Zelensky at that time. But then the British Prime Minister and the Americans, they wanted to defeat Russia. And that's why we are seeing after 3 years the kind of consequences that the world is facing of this. So India is also the leader of the Global South and the voice of the Global South.
Yes.
So the Global South is the one which is disproportionately suffering from this war. And therefore, India has taken upon itself to act as an interlocutor to bring about some kind of a peace between the two.
Okay, finally, if India plays a successful mediating role in resolving this conflict, how do you think it will shape India's foreign policy moving forward?
Well, India has played this role because we follow a very principled foreign policy. This policy, when we talk of dialogue and diplomacy and the UN Charter, you see our case with China. We have these problems with China since 2020, but we are continuing with the dialogue with them. So it's not only that we are preaching something else and we are following and practicing something else. It is the same for India. So that's why people believe you when you say something like that. So I think that India's graph is going to be higher.
All right. It was wonderful having this conversation with you, sir. Thank you so much for joining in on the broadcast.
Thank you.
India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar participated in the International Literacy Day celebrations in New Delhi. Speaking on the occasion, the Vice President called upon everyone to promote literacy, stressing that it was time for us to be in mission mode with commitment and passion to ensure 100% literacy at the earliest.
We're independent as a nation. Our literacy rate was 12%. And now we have only 20% to make up. That 20% to reach that saturation is not easy. But then challenging times get the best out of you.
8th of September is celebrated as World Literacy Day. It is observed to remind policymakers, educators and the public of the vital role literacy plays in building a more educated, peaceful and sustainable society. India is making bold strides towards not just improving literacy rates but also transforming the educational landscape for future generations. Here's a report.
Policy or NEP 2020 is India's first education policy of the 21st century. Introduced after a gap of 34 years, it is a comprehensive framework aiming to overhaul the Indian education system by focusing on the holistic development of students, inclusivity and critical thinking. One of its key objectives is to address literacy and numeracy issues at the foundational level. In addition to restructuring the curriculum, the NEP also emphasizes the importance of multilingualism, recognizing that students learn best in their mother tongue. The policy recommends that children be best taught in their local language up to grade 5. This is a significant step in ensuring that education is more accessible and meaningful for children across rural and urban India. The policy also introduces reforms aimed at reducing the dropout rate, which has been a significant barrier to achieving higher literacy, by offering a more flexible curriculum and multiple entry and exit points in higher education. NEP 2020 aims to make education more inclusive and reduce the economic and social pressures that often led to children dropping out. Another major reform is the introduction of technology in education. The NEP recognizes the role of digital learning and has laid down a roadmap of integrating technology into classrooms, making education more interactive and accessible, especially in remote areas. Empowering minds with dynamic content, the ULAS scheme transforms adult literacy, ensuring that teaching inspires, learning thrives, and individuals gain the skills needed for personal and community growth. As India embarks on this ambitious journey with NEP 2020, the goal is not just to improve literacy rates, but to empower every child with the knowledge, skills, and values needed to thrive in the 21st century. On this World Literacy Day, India's reforms in education are a beacon of hope for millions, promising a brighter and more literate future. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
And still to come on DD India Newshour. Anderson .Paak is hoping he got it right with his directorial debut, K-Pops. Veteran Sports Administrator Raja Randhir Singh elected unopposed as the President of the Olympic Council of Asia.
New challenges need new strategies, and technology is already impacting the way we live and we farm.
Based on the spikes and insights which our algorithms suggest, we alert the farmers or whoever the warehouse owner is about what exactly is happening in which part of your warehouse.
The weather in Meghalaya definitely one of the center points of how we design these systems. And let's look at all of this together in terms of what are the solar irradiance that they're getting. Try and design a system that is designed to work in that situation.
It's a pretty good living. Greenhouses have improved the lives of 80 or 90% of Algerians.
Our supply chain is farm to door. We supply traders directly, bringing benefits to both.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Hollywood stars Jude Law, Sydney Sweeney, Anna de Armas, Vanessa Kirby and Daniel Bruhl walked the red carpet of Ron Howard's Eden for its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival. The star-studded event draws significant attention as fans gathered to catch a glimpse of the A-list cast and director. The film, set in a dystopian future, explores themes of survival, human resilience. Critics and audiences alike are eager to see the movie early buzz, suggesting that it could be a strong contender for award season. Eight-time Grammy Award winner Anderson .Paak is hoping he got it right with his directorial debut, K-Pops. He said that he did his best to reflect the two cultures that make up his identity as the son of a Korean mother and African-American father. K-Pops, which has premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival, is a coming-of-age film that tells the tale of BJ, a washed-up musician played by Paak, who takes a drumming gig on a South Korean reality show. BJ soon discovers he is the father of one of the contestants on the show, an aspiring musician played by 13-year-old Saul Rashid, Paak's son in real life. Time now for sport updates. Veteran Sports Administrator Raja Randhir Singh has been elected unopposed as the President of the Olympic Council of Asia during its 44th General Assembly in New Delhi. A significant outcome of the General Assembly was the inclusion of yoga as a demonstrative sport in the Asian Games, showcasing India's cultural heritage on the world stage.
In a major development for Indian sports, veteran administrator Randhir Singh was elected unopposed as President of the Olympic Council of Asia during its 44th General Assembly. The event took place at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi and saw the presence of key dignitaries, Union Health Minister JP Nadda, Union Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia and Indian Olympic Association President PT Usha. Union Health Minister JP Nadda praised India's growing global standing, noting the country's success in hosting major international events.
In the past 10 years, our government in India has successfully hosted the FIFA Under-17 World Cup in 2017, the Chess Olympiad in 2022, the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in 2022, F1 Powerboat World Competition in 2022, Field Hockey World Cup in 2023, and ODI Cricket World Cup in 2023. Organizing sports is not only a platform for competition, but it is also a means of communication between cultures and countries.
Union Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia emphasized India's leadership in the global sports arena.
India has successfully hosted global events such as the Commonwealth Games, multiple Cricket World Cups, and the G20 Summit, and now aims to bid for hosting the Youth Olympic in 2030 and the Summer Olympic in 2036.
One key highlight of the assembly was the inclusion of yoga as a discipline in the Asian Games.
Yoga is one sport which is what the world needs. As I mentioned earlier, that in every other sport you have a wear and tear in your body. Yoga reactivates your body.
Inclusion of yoga brings India's ancient heritage to the global stage. With this, India enters a new era of sports leadership, offering a promising future for its athletes and global sports initiatives.
The inclusion of yoga along with the election of Raja Ranveer Singh as the President of the Olympic Council of Asia reflects India's growing stature in the world of sports. And apart from that, it is clearly visible that the world is looking towards India for hosting the major events. Last year, India hosted the 141st session of the IOC, and now India hosted the 44th session, the General Assembly of the Olympic Council of Asia. This shows that India is ready to host mega international events. With camera person Saurav, Nahyan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
And world number one Jannik Sinner of Italy is set to face Taylor Fritz of the United States in the US Open 2024 men's singles final on Sunday at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City. Sinner's US Open journey began with a challenging win over Mackenzie McDonald from the USA. The 23-year-old Sinner then defeated Jack Draper of Great Britain in straight sets 7-5, 7-6, 6-2 to advance to the final. Meanwhile, Taylor Fritz also had a strong showing, starting his campaign with 3 straight set victories. Fritz secured his spot in the final with a trailing 5-set victory of the world number 20 Francis Tiafoe in an All-American semi-final. At 26 years old, Fritz is the first American man to reach a Grand Slam final in 15 years. And Belarusian Arina Sabalenka beat American 6th seed Jessica Pegula 7-5, 7-5 in the US Open women's final on Saturday. World number 2 Sabalenka triumphed 7-5, 7-5 to add New York title to her back-to-back Australian Open victories. Pegula went down fighting, however, recovering from 0-3 and break point to lead 5-3 in the second set before Sabalenka came through. The 26-year-old from Belarus clubbed 40 winners to become the first woman since Angelique Kerber in 2016 to capture both hardcourt majors in the same season. Today is the second day of Ganesh Chaturti festival that began on Saturday. The 10-day festival can be witnessed across the country as devotees thronged and offered prayers on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturti. Various unique themed Lord Ganesha's majestic idols are installed all over India to connect with his divine energy. A 40-foot-tall idol of Lord Ganesh, crafted from 6,000 plates, 1,500 Kamakshi lamps and 350 seashells, was installed in Indian city of Chennai for Ganesh Chaturthi. In another unique presentation, the idol of Lord Ganesha, seated on the replica of LCA Tejas Mark 1A fighter jet, has been designed at a residence in the city of Mumbai. The idol is based on the theme on the development that took place in India this year. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.